everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to Jessop's Journal. In this episode, I visit with powerful, positive, and inspirational folks doing some pretty extraordinary things. First up is a lady that does something I couldn't do. She's a hospice nurse that shares end-of-life stories.
Some of the things I've learned working in this area, this rich area of hospice, it's enriched my life so much because you learn, number one, what really matters in life. That's huge.
Okay.
You also learn that you don't have to be afraid of death because our bodies know how to die.
There are certain experiences that touch your senses. Your sight, your hearing, your smell, things of that nature. This next story just might touch your soul.
Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. The truths that Christ taught about loving God first and loving each other, that creates a light in our countenances. And that's what the tree of life is meant to be symbolic of, is that light radiating from inside.
What gives you hope? Talon Summers has an inspirational story of following his family's motto, never give up.
So many times I could have given up, could have taken a different path, could have taken the short way out, and it's just not who I am.
In between, we'll be entertained by musical guest Ashley Hess.
You give me your 2 cents, but this investment's more expensive. Where's your experience? Guess I'ma use my common sense, 'cause you don't know me like I know me.
But first, Candy Kinser. Candy, it's time to sign into Jessop's Journal.
Oh, all right.
In this episode of Jessop's Journal, I have Candy Kinser with me today. Candy, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Now, you are dressed in, this little white outfit, and, I'm not sure you're an angel or something, but some people may have called you an angel. Why are you wearing the white?
Well, this is what I do every day. I'm a nurse.
Ah, very cool. Okay, so my grandmother was a nurse, and I actually have this book, not totally serious, on the proper care and use of leeches. Ooh, okay. So, I don't know if they still use leeches or not, but what kind of nurse are you?
I am a hospice nurse.
What's a hospice nurse do?
We protect people. We
Okay.
protect their opportunity to have the kind of life they want and live life to the fullest towards the end of their life.
What does being a nurse in a hospital mean?
Well, it means you're going to work hard. You're going to have a day where you go in and you're assigned in the intensive care unit 2 patients.
Okay.
But then someone calls in sick, someone else needs to go to lunch, someone needs to take a patient down to x-ray. The next thing you know, you're taking care of 4 patients.
Wow.
And you sometimes are titrating drugs, so you have to be monitoring your patient. It gets pretty intense. But it also means that you bond with those patients as soon as you meet them. I
Yeah.
mean, you may go in and, honey, I'm going to be your nurse today. I don't even know if that's correct to say that, but we get pretty close pretty quick because in the next few seconds, you may be giving them a bed bath, and you need to be able to connect with them quickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have to admit, you have a job that I couldn't do, and so I have a lot of respect for first responders and the nursing profession. We've talked a little bit about the fact that you were an intensive care nurse, and now you're a hospice care nurse. So for the people out there that don't quite understand what hospice means, can you help fill me in?
To me, hospice is just everything I'd ever want to do because we make such a difference. We get to throw away cookbook medicine and we get to do what makes sense. And we get to protect those bonding moments that are so precious towards the end of life. And Doug, there's no end to hospice. A lot of people think, oh, hospice means you're going to die in a few days, you're going to die in a few weeks, you only have a few months left. But I've known patients to be on hospice significantly longer than that because they continue to technically qualify. We recently just had a patient who the hospital expected her to live maybe 3 days. We brought her home from the hospital where she could be with her husband, and she lived 3 weeks.
To you, just not even just as a hospice nurse, but just as you as a person, what does quality of life mean to you?
Connection, connection with other human beings.
Okay.
And that's kind of a challenge sometimes for our patients right now with COVID.
Yeah.
But to these patients and to me, well, having someone give you eye-to-eye contact, have someone, hearing the voices of your loved ones around you, that's huge. Dying people are really cool and they know what matters in life.
Okay.
It's not the stock market. It's not even their favorite sports team. It's love, family, loved ones, peace.
Well, I do admit, one of my favorite interviews that I've done was with this 103-year-old woman.
I saw it.
By the name of Romaine.
Choice.
And she was doing wonderful, sharp as a tack, 103 years old. And she had a fall. And, shortly after that, she passed peacefully in her sleep. So I had no idea. But it was intriguing because, like you said, with her, it wasn't about the stuff. It was about spending time with her dad, or the spaghetti that her son made, or that bowling trophy, and of course, the two hole-in-ones. But I got to think that you've heard lots of different stories, and in fact, you've written down a bunch of stories. Why is it important to you to keep these stories passed down, keep them alive?
I want people to know that some of the things I've learned working in this area, this rich area of hospice, it's enriched my life so much because you learn, number one, what really matters in life. That's huge.
Okay.
You also learn that you don't have to be afraid of death because our bodies know how to die. But some of those stories, I have to credit my husband. Bob kept telling me, I'd come home and tell him these amazing stories that our patients were sharing with me. Just such cool things. And he'd say, Candy, you got to write those down. And he wouldn't let me. So I started writing them down, and it took me about 4 years.
Do you mind sharing one of your favorites?
Oh, boy, I have a lot, but Blaine always stands out in my mind.
Okay, tell me about
Blaine was in a facility, a long-term care facility, and people there don't go there by choice. Some things cause them. Maybe they've had a stroke or whatever, but they're not usually really happy to be there. And one day I got a call. I was Blaine's hospice nurse. I got a call and they said, Candy, Blaine's dying. Get over here as fast as you can. He's as blue as the sky. So I got there and he didn't die. And when he could talk, he told me what had happened. And he said, Candy, my wife was here. Now that got my attention because she had died in that very same room just a few years earlier. He said she stood right there by the closet and she held out her hands and she said, Blaine, won't you come and join me? And he said, I had to tell her my work on earth wasn't finished yet. And it wasn't. He lived for another year.
Really?
Yeah, but after that, he was the happiest man I ever knew. And he had told me some more things. He said, Candy, she was gorgeous. She was beautiful. She looked like she was about 23, and her hair was long down over her shoulders. And I think the thing that made him so happy, Doug, was he knew he would die. He was that close to the end of his life. And he knew when it was his time, she would be there waiting with her arms. And it gives me hope. That gives me great hope to know that. And that we have an incredible destiny waiting ahead of us. That this is my belief, after having worked in hospice so many years, that this life isn't the end.
I remember having a conversation a number of years ago with an EMT. And he would go on these calls, accident calls and everything. And he had a strong philosophy that when it's your time, it's your time. So he told me about going to these accidents where it was just like mangled and mess, and you're going, there's no way in the world anybody's going to be able to survive this. And yet they walked away.
Absolutely.
And then he goes to a fender bender that, no big deal. And the person passed. Has that ever kind of, come into your world between the emergency room and the hospice stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, it has. One of my patients, And he gave me permission to use his name, Evan Chittister, coming down Highway 6, Spanish Fort Canyon. When I met him, he was in the hospital, and he said, Candy, I've died twice.
Really?
And he ended up having 83 units of blood and 18 surgeries.
Wow.
His leg had to be amputated. That motorcycle accident was horrible, but the experiences he had were incredible. He saw this, can I share something this deeply spiritual? He saw this ball of light coming towards him, and there were two specks that were even brighter than this bright ball of light coming towards him. He thought it was going to mow him over. It stopped right in front of him. And he was given this incredible hug, and he felt a love that he said nothing earthly can describe, and a peace that was the sweetest thing he ever experienced. When the person who gave him that stood back, he was able then to see who had been in that ball. It was his father and his grandfather. And his grandfather, well, basically they told him he had to go back, and he was like, I don't want to go back. I'm going to be in a lot of pain, I'm going to suffer, please let me stay here. And they said, you'll be given the strength to endure what you need to do. And then there's other people that you just don't expect it to happen, but they're gone. And something tells you it was their time. I really believe that.
Thank you so much for coming on Jessops Journal today. One of my favorite inspirational quotes is from Audrey Hepburn. She said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Everyone has a story, and sometimes those stories are told through music. It's time for Jessops Jukebox. Throughout life, you're going to get all kinds of advice. People are going to say that you need to stay in this little box. Well, Ashley and I were talking, and she has some great advice, that you need to take it with a grain of salt.
I thought that I could do it my way, but everyone around me's got something to say. And I'm tired of listening, trying to play the game, the game. I feel so disconnected, trying to do what they expecting. Why are they so invested? Maybe it's just them projecting, but they don't know me like I know me. No. Who said I gotta fit into a box? Who said I gotta do what you want? I hear a lot of words, a lot of talk. Blah, 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 yeah, I'll take it with a grain of salt. I know that you're just trying to help me, but what you're doing really isn't helping. All these opinions I hear overwhelm me, yeah. You give me your 2 cents, but this investment's more expensive. Where's your experience? Guess I'ma use my common sense, 'cause you don't know me like I know me, yeah. Who said I gotta fit into a box? Who said I gotta do what you want? I hear a lot of words, a lot of talk. Blah, 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 yeah, I'll take it with a grain of salt. Listen, I got something to say, something to get off my chest. 'Cause every time I open up my mouth to speak, they interrupt to tell me what to do next. But I don't wanna hear, I don't wanna know what you think of how you feel or anything at all. I wanna do me, thinking live freely. Thanks for your time, but step aside, it's enough for me. All I really wanna do is sing, but every time that I do, it brings up strangers saying how to act. Be more of this and less of that. Trust me, I hear everything that they're saying, but I won't just fake it and do it their way. No, no. Who said I gotta fit into a box? Who said I gotta do what you want? I hear a lot of words, a lot of talk. Blah, 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 yeah, I take it with a grain of salt. Who said I gotta fit into a box? Who said I gotta do what you want? I hear a lot of words, a lot of talk. I'ma take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I'm the guy that wears hats on TV. Truth be told, I wear hats everywhere. This blue fedora is called the Azul. The Light of the World Sculpture Garden features 15 larger-than-life scenes from the life of Jesus Christ. We visit with the sculptor Angela Johnson to see what project she's working on now.
Hello, Dad.
Hey, Angela, great to meet you.
Well, welcome to my studio.
This is phenomenal. Angela, it's time to sign it at Jessop's Journal.
Why, thank you.
Today, I am in a beautiful studio, an art studio. I mean, it's a sculpture studio. And this lady right here, this is Angela Johnson. She's the person that's done all this stuff. So thank you so much for inviting us into your gallery. You are actually very well known as a sculptor for a special presentation out at Thanksgiving Point with the depictions of Christ. So tell me a little bit more about that.
That's the Light of the World Garden. There are 35 monumental bronze statues that comprise 15 scenes of events from the light of Christ.
Now, why the Light of the World? Why was it called that?
When I started sculpting, I created probably 12 private commissions for individuals. But then I got on my knees and asked God what He wanted me to do with the gift that He'd given me. And as answer to that prayer, I was given a concept of a sculpture garden depicting the teachings of Christ. I have always loved Jesus Christ. And so I was enthralled with this challenge. I wasn't shown where it would go. I wasn't shown what scenes I was to depict. The only thing I was given was the certitude that it would happen. So it was years later that I met Karen Ashton. And in our discussions, she invited this body of art to be in her beautiful Ashton Gardens at Thanksgiving Point.
Wow. Good person to know.
Yes, she is.
Wow. And I understand that because of that project, there's an even bigger project coming, which is kind of the reason we're looking at all this neat stuff. What's this project called?
Oh, you're very right. This project is called the Tree of Life Presentation. And it is a companion piece to the Light of the World in so much that this is a witness of Jesus Christ from the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
And it focuses on the vision of the Tree of Life, but also focuses on the personalities and prophets and kings from the Book of Mormon.
Okay. I love bronzes because they have this certain patina, this age. I mean, there's a difference between one that's kept in a box, basically, and the one that's touched and felt and everything. Describe what that's like.
I'm so glad you asked that question because I am very thankful to be in the three-dimensional art form of sculpture because I'm a very tactile person and I really want people of all ages to connect with the statues. And when they have the desire to reach out and reverently touch Christ, they are completely welcome to do this. And I've noticed that certain favorite parts of the statues have received what I call that love patina. For example, the prints of the nails in his hands. That love patina turns the bronze to a kind of gold because it removes the patina, but I welcome that because it's a very tactile experience where people can actually connect in some way with a depiction of Jesus Christ.
You know, it just comes to my mind, I got to think that little kids would absolutely love you. It's like, I get to touch something.
I get to touch something.
So is there a particular place or thing that you've noticed that children are attracted to in your current project?
In Light of the World, they love to sit among the chickens.
Oh, really?
The chickens, where it's his gathering. And this one little boy gave a profound sermon about this, and he told his grandma, "Grandma, this is where Jesus protects the chickens like he protects us from predators." And so they love to get up in his lap and sit on his lap. They love to lay their heads on his shoulders and wrap their arms around his arms. And that's one of the most endearing things that I see is when little children love on Jesus.
Isn't that neat?
It is wonderful.
So what's the inspiration for this? I mean, that was a big project, but this is beyond big. I mean, this is humongous. How big is this going to be when it's all said and done?
That's a very good question, because right now there are over 200 statues. And the thing that I want to share is when people say, well, where did this start? Where did the desire to do a depiction of the Tree of Life begin? And the stunning thing is, we were just talking about children. I remember being 5 years old. And the very first time I heard the story of Lehi's vision of the Tree of Life, it encoded on my soul in a very deep way. So when I began to sculpt, the echo came through the decades of my life, and I knew that at one point in time, I would sculpt a depiction of the Tree of Life. I was not ready to do it at the time I began The Light of the World. I am a different person now, and that the work that I've done is the work of just over 2.5 years. So it's a phenomenal thing, but the work of The Light of the World prepared not only me, but the relationship with Karen Ashton at Thanksgiving Point for the unfolding of this magnificent, massive presentation. And the basic underlying message of it is what embraces the light of the world and the story that we are all children of God, and that He is a loving Father and wants the very best for us. So it is my joy to be able to create a diverse representation of ethnic groups, ages, circumstances, struggles, trials, pain, victory, triumphant, and what God is willing to do to bless our lives and bring us home to Him.
So I see up there is, the tree, okay, and it's lit. Light is radiating from the tree.
And it was designed to have the metaphorical symbolism of light that radiates out from within our souls when we have a commitment to truths of eternity, principles of light. For example, love is that. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. The truths that Christ taught about loving God first and loving each other, that creates a light in our countenances. And that's what the Tree of Life is meant to be symbolic of, is that light radiating from inside.
Okay, now I notice that there's an iron rod that goes up this mountain, up this hill towards Christ. Yes. What's that iron rod represent?
It's going up a very steep hill. Angle of this path is difficult. The surface underneath the feet is not dependable. It is very irregular, it's very organic. Even though we have similar life's experiences, each person's own individual journey is fraught with uncertainties. We cannot take for granted the very next step that we're going to make, because it could be a misstep. This iron rod that you're referring to is representative of Jesus Christ, the Word of God. As it says in the Gospel of John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So the Word of God is that steadfast, those steadfast truths that we can hold on to, that in spite of the difficulties, we have the faith that He will not leave us comfortless.
My grandfather, the last words that he said in this world were, "Please remember me." I'm looking at this and the legacy that you have. I'm pretty sure that people are going to remember you. Life is never boring. Sometimes you have something I like to call the wonderful world of regret. If you've ever had a tattoo or permanent makeup that you've fallen out of love with, the folks at Tattoo Away have come up with a pretty cool system that literally removes the ink out of the skin. There are certain stories that I like to call caring stories. They deserve to be told. Talon Summers has one of those stories. Talon Summers was part of the Bear River football team that won the state championship in 2006.
Learn to work together and love each other and do the best you can and have fun while doing it.
Talon's most important team is his family.
He's just been a fighter ever since he was born. He was a 29.5 weeker. He was the first person in Utah to have surfactant, which is a new steroid that helps them develop their lungs. He had open heart surgery when he was 10 days old.
27-year-old Talon is fighting IgG4 systemic sclerosis disease that hardens the tissue from the inside out. There is no cure.
Basically, if you don't have a family support system with something like I have, you wouldn't last very long, you know.
So what's your family motto?
Never give up. I am proud that I do fight. So many times I could have given up. Could have taken a different path. Could have taken the short way out, you know. And it's just not who I am.
One Wish Cache Valley granted Talon a wish with a team he admires.
They had a National Guard come up and do a flag ceremony here on my front yard with about 40 National Guardsmen. And at that time, he just grabbed Talon's hand. He says, if I can help you out there, you got a lot of people here. And so we put him in his wheelchair and took him outside. And probably the highlight of his life.
Talon, what gives you hope?
The gospel, Jesus Christ. One day I'll feel whole again. Won't be suffering. That's what I look forward to.
There's a phrase in my house. It says, don't forget to breathe. Well, Clear nasal spray washes away bacteria and helps me breathe better. So come on, join me. You know you want to. It's time to take a deep breath and relax. Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal. It's my honor to be able to share positive, powerful, and inspirational stories every week right here on TV, as well as on JESSOP'sJournal.com. Here's the thing I want people to remember. Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another entry into Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.